Greetings, YouTube world. It's Astro Wiz-Kid once again, and I'm here with part 2 of my Uranus in Gemini predictions. So in the first part, I did discuss the inventions and the events also that took place, and also a story I had, and I did have predictions as well, but the thing is, I have a whole nother notebook page here of more predictions that I made. So this is what this part 2 is all about. So, I would recommend, if you are new to astrology, I'd recommend probably researching a little bit more before you watch this video. But if you are a little more seasoned into astrology and you want to see what one of my interpretations could be of the transit, then you're in the right place. Of course, this is all speculation. Some of this stuff might not happen, but you never know. I mean, there's many things going on in the world every day, every second. Everywhere you look, there's someone's best day ever and someone's worst day ever. So I guess I'll just get started with the prediction. So this is part 2. And if you haven't seen part 1, you might want to watch that, just because I feel like it might be a little bit more informative. But if you want to see straight predictions, then this is a good video for you either way. So let's get to it. So one of the predictions I made is innovations in the way goods are transported. So not too surprising. Gemini, third house association, all about traveling, exporting, trading goods, all that kind of stuff. Not sure if robots might be more involved in that, or if we're going to be seeing more technology, or like perhaps like more advanced boats that'll ship and transport certain goods, or even like robot parts too, especially once we get the ball rolling with the innovation aspect. This is a kind of a funny prediction I also made. Awkwardness more commonplace. Now here's the thing, because the thing is, if Uranus is a planet that represents disruptions and also represents like sudden breakdown of things, and you think of Gemini as this sign of having its fingers in too many pies, being scatterbrained, kind of just like jumping all around like a little bunny rabbit, like socially. I think you could definitely see a lot more sporadic communication and less thorough. I want to say, like, I guess just less. I guess just more impulsive acting and just not as much thinking. But this could also trigger deeper conversations, especially with Uranus going into the communication sector, or the sign of communication too. So there's that. But I mean, you got to think, if these are two very socially inclined planets, then there could be definitely more general awkwardness and eccentricity that'll come as a result of these two planets coming to a head. Or rather, the planet Uranus going into the sign Gemini. Another one of the predictions I made, I wrote a little note here, similar with an arrow here. Epiphanies on better solutions and possible cures for neurological disorders. Herbal and natural remedies to cleanse the nerves, ease communication and anxiety. So that's kind of counteracting the awkwardness thing that I was talking about, or finding like better ways to communicate. And scientific breakthroughs on human behavior and thought processes, socialization, mental disorders, etc. especially with Uranus being a sign that can be attributed with epiphanies and especially you got to think too, Uranus and Gemini are two very experimental type of energies. So Uranus is kind of like the more to definitely try more unconventional and out of the box sort of ideas, and Gemini is more kind of just trying many things all at the same time, but not getting too invested in one thing. So, but if we also see Uranus as a humanitarian type of energy, and also like a more herbal and naturally based type of personality per se, and it's going into Gemini, we could very well see certain revelations on how to even cure things like neurological disorders. I'm not sure if I talked about this in part one, but we could definitely see more breakthroughs in like thing like certain disorders like ADD, autism. Gemini being like a sign of like particularly paying attention to the attention span. Um, you could see what was I just thinking? Just had a brain fart. Uh, yeah, so like I was saying, just so just anything about like neurological disorders or um like certain like behavior that might be kind of hard to like diagnose. It might be hard for the logical mind to understand, so you need an unconventional mind to understand it. um Continuing on with more predictions, changing social dynamics and ways of interacting. So that kind of goes along with the awkwardness more being more commonplace and everything I was sort of just talking about. More change ups, switch ups of that. Um, Maybe more deeply intellectual conversations that really get people thinking about life in general, or just the way they the way that they just interact with their everyday environment, such things like that. Improvements in dexterity, agility, and flexibility, another one of my predictions. So I'm not sure if like we could definitely see like more like gymnastics being integrated into sports, or I think that's actually another prediction I made. Oh yeah, okay. So yeah, so more general interest in extreme sports, particularly involving reflexes and the use of the hands. So we could definitely see like more general interest, especially with Uranus being a unconventional type of planet, and Gemini ruling the hands and the nerves and the shoulders, forearms. We could definitely see a lot more um, innovation and enhancement along those lines and improvement. And another prediction I skipped over is surgical enhancements, such as exoskeletons or robotic parts. I feel like there could possibly be like a real improvement in like people who do get like certain operations done. Like there could be certain operations where like you're actually more able to have a realistic hand, or I'm not sure if like this is kind of wild to even think about even right now, even this age we live in, but like being able to regrow body parts, you know? I mean, just imagine being able to like grow back an arm, being able to grow back certain limbs or a fucking brain, if you somehow don't have a brain. I figured if you didn't have a brain, you wouldn't be watching this right now, but but yeah, we could see some really surprising progress being made along those lines. It's it's amazing to say the least, guys. I mean, these transits are going to be historic, undoubtedly. I'll be making more videos on those other transits, though. There's a lot to talk about. Um, Another one of my predictions, unusual or unforeseen methods of communication becoming commonplace, like telepathy. Technically, I already talked about them in my first video having to do with the neural link, or even just certain things we can do that can be controlled with the mind, or certain, or more things or more power in how we use our hands for either labor. It can be just doing chores, or it can be just a better understanding of the capability of the human mind and really tapping more into that. And especially with Uranus being a more otherworldly type of planet, I could definitely see if it goes into Gemini, it could very well trigger perhaps like more collective intuition, or we'll be able to read our thoughts more with or without Neuralink. Especially with all of the other transits that are going to be occurring, I feel like there's going to be definitely more definitely more universal downloads, in particular around the planet, more otherworldly experiences, more definitely more I don't want to say this because it sounds so corny, but like alien contact, you know. um we could be seeing a lot of that, especially developing over the next few years. Because if you think about it, Neptune, Pluto, and Uranus are all like collective energies, and they're all about like a big general populace, if that makes sense. So we could be seeing a lot more of being able to really sense how we feel and sense how we think and communicate with or without technology, hoping we don't have to have technology that goes a little too deep into the mind, which that's unfortunately a very real possibility. And even Elon Musk talked about that too, with the idea of Neuralink, having microchips inserted into people's brains and having all their thoughts and memories right in a database, which would definitely be a darker and more disturbing manifestation of this. So moving on, not intended. This isn't intended to scare you guys or anything, but it's speculation. It's just these are the energies, and this is just what they could do. It's not a guarantee, but only one way to find out, and we'll see. Another one of my predictions is debate over social norms. Gemini being very talkative and chatty, rolling gossip, rumors, and such things like that. Wouldn't be surprised if we definitely see more debate over social norms, scientific ideas, and like especially even like more arguments and heated debates over ethics and morals and whatnot, moral boundaries. So another one of my predictions: unexpected and radical change in the education system in ways that students and teachers exchange ideas. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if this is an aspect that can, or if this is a placement that can really get students and teachers being able to like more clearly understand ideas, and like be able to have like more exciting and interactive like type of like ways of absorbing information. I think that is definitely a very amazing thing that could very well come out of this transit. Especially because if you think about it, Gemini is like the learning mind, and Sagittarius is like the teaching personality. So Gemini and Sagittarius rule the axis of knowledge and truth. So if you really think about it, that student and teacher dynamic there'll probably be more like wordplay and interaction, and like new ways that we can actually learn and absorb information, or perhaps even shorter school days too. I mean, especially because if you think about it, a lot of people or like a lot of students kind of struggle with being able to grasp like really long, like certain topics or like certain ideas within topics. There could be like a more shortened school day or like a different school schedule that'll allow them to more easily absorb information. I'm not sure if the Neuralink might have something to do with that. Hopefully not. But I think that can be very much a very positive change we would be seeing in the next few years. Another prediction: younger people becoming more interested and invested in technological innovation. I mean, we're already seeing this even today. I mean, even the past several years. I have this theory that like there's like whatever whenever there's going to be like a major shift like that, we can always feel it like a year or two, or even 3 years before. I feel like whatever society is kind of doing now is kind of carving the path for whatever is going to be in the future. That could be for better or worse. But I mean, we already are seeing like so many younger people, even people like my age, who like just who can hack the whole freaking who can hack a whole damn network of a video game, whether it's on PC or it's PS5 or something like that. Like they can just practically create their own games on a dime, and it's pretty amazing that we can live in a society like that. Like live in a world like that. Even even when I was like 14 and playing like Call of Duty, World of War Online, I would see like people like just shooting mad rocket launchers and like just jumping like freaking like 100 feet in the air and shit like that. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if we see a lot more of that, even just in gaming, or even just a lot more people being able to build like really, really incredible technology. And we could also see a generation that will definitely absorb information a lot faster. They could almost outsmart the teacher too, in a way. So beware of that. Especially if you think of Uranus as the higher echelon mind and Gemini as the learning mind. You could definitely expect more advanced type of thinking amongst this the younger generation who will be born under this transit, but also just in general, there will be just kind of this collective vibe, you know. Another prediction: out of the box wordplay. Technology so complex and dualistic that it's impossible to decipher. Also, ways to possibly decipher it. Yeah, that's the kind of tricky part too, is that, I mean, if technology ends up becoming too powerful, then we could end up being succumbed to the very thing which we use to improve ourselves, which now becomes the thing that can just improve itself constantly. And then before I know, we made a god, the world's over, blah, blah, blah. Definitely crossing my fingers and hoping that does not happen. But I mean, we do got to acknowledge the supercomputer that Google has in order to store all the information, and like all these YouTube videos, all these Facebook, Instagram posts, all the social media shit. Just all these things are combined into one. Like all of the world's knowledge, at least written on the internet, if not actively written on the internet, besides archaeological discoveries and other things that are hidden somewhere in the tombs of Egypt or what have you. But that's definitely a very real possibility. Probably in the more like distant future, once it gets really advanced. I mean, I don't think it's going to be a problem. Too much of a problem. I don't know. With these transits, it's kind of hard to take a more confident approach to that. But I mean, your guess is as good as mine. But hopefully, it won't be too complicated, or the certain higher ups and third parties use it for won't make it so um, won't make it too hard for public use. Also, another thing I just thought of too is enhanced security systems. too. That's a very real possibility, especially Gemini rule in the hands. You figure like take a strand of DNA or like you have handprints like you've seen in like Star Trek, like they scan their hand or they like spit into like a fucking like a beaker, like a science beaker, and then like they see if like it's the person and it's like access denied or access approved or something like that. I definitely wouldn't be surprised if sort of Jetson's future isn't going to be all that far off, especially with all of this extremely collective emphasis on like the social structures and the, for lack of a better term and for the sake of simplicity, so much emphasis on just the social personality. You think Gemini, Aries, Aquarius, like a definitive human being, someone who takes action, someone who wants to help others, someone who wants to do lots of things and manage lots of things at once. It's all very socially inclined. So yeah, that's gonna be wild. Um, Another prediction is new languages. Gemini being Gemini being the sector of communication, which I kind of don't understand because I mean, if Taurus rules the throat, then why does Gemini rule the communication sector of it? Like, wouldn't speaking actually be from Taurus? Just a little food for thought. But I mean, if Gemini does rule the nerves and you know, at least like the cognitive functions to some extent, along with Virgo, then sure, I could see it. And especially with Uranus being a more, I don't know if I want to say cult like energy, or definitely a more unusually minded planet, as we've discussed. Wouldn't be surprised if we see new languages or perhaps even like more improvements with the Rosetta Stone or faster ways to actually learn it. Like you saw, like if you've ever seen The Matrix, like there's certain scenes where like Neo just inserts a chip in his brain and all of a sudden he's a kung fu master. Like I wouldn't be or like like he'll insert a chip and boom, you're like the next Gordon Ramsay, you know. Um, if anything, I think it'd be pretty cool to have a chip where I would just have it inserted in my brain, and then all of a sudden I'm as good as Eddie Van Halen on guitar. Man, wouldn't that be freaking amazing? But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if there's already, even if there's already, even if there's already things like that being done behind the scenes, like the government's just working with this and testing it in secret or something like that. Um, Another thing I predict, this is interesting. Gemini being a trickster sign too. Pranks and creativity inspired by fast and dramatic technological advancement. I mean, you think Uranus is one of the things that represents technology and, Gemini trickster energy. You can already see where this goes. I mean, there's so many prank channels, so many people doing it, you know. I'm not sure if you can also see like sudden interruptions or like suddenly like a lot of I don't know how to describe it, but it's like a lot of hmm, I'm getting like speech impediments. I could certainly see that. Speech impediments that speech impediments that kind of give a deeper message, perhaps, or encrypted message of some sort. But going back to pranks and creativity, like I said, Gemini trickster energy and Uranus being the technologically advancing. Take a shot every time I say technological or technology. Just do it at this point. But yeah, you get the idea. Um, More social divide and lone wolf mindsets. You think of Uranus and just Aquarius as a sign of being a lone wolf type, and you see Gemini kind of like as a sociable, so a social sign, kind of bouncing from one person to the next and not getting to know them more deeply. It's kind of ironic because you would also think that like Uranus and Gemini would be so much more set on like being able to express itself in social situations, but it can also have the opposite effect too. there can actually also be more divide amongst people. There can be more divide with ideas. I think I might have talked about this in the first video, in case you still want to check that out. But you can definitely see a lot more of that sort of social divide and people not agreeing on like certain topics or belief systems and whatnot. Especially for Gemini risings too, because they're also going to have Pluto in the ninth house, and if Pluto's in Aquarius and Uranus being the ruler of Aquarius is in your first house, there would definitely be more emphasis on like beliefs and certain like I don't know if you're gonna like make a cult or something like that, but I mean just be careful with that. I would say. That's probably another video I'm gonna make for another time. But moving on, rumors, gossip, and spread of misinformation likely related to technology at an all-time high. It shouldn't be too surprising. We've been seeing a lot of that, even with especially with Neptune in Pisces. Things seeming too good to be true. Pluto and Capricorn, literally destruction of well-built establishments, and like all of these businesses and corporations and these celebrities and people who are built upon a false system of security and success. We're seeing a lot more of that being exposed. Resistance to new ideas and social norms. You think Uranus being a rebel, and Gemini being like certain ideas which will probably inevitably be implemented in perhaps a more controlling way, if that makes sense. I definitely wouldn't be surprised if we do see a certain rebellion and like definitely good amount of resistance towards new laws and regulations, especially. I don't know if this is going to be more fighting for free speech as well. That's another thing I could speculate here. Fighting for free speech, Gemini, Uranus, you get the idea. Increased electrical shocks and lightning, especially with Gemini being multifaceted, multi-personalities, multiple things at once, fingers in too many pies type, scatterbrained, scattered lightning. Uranus being like lightning bolts, like ideas and stuff like that. I mean, more so just, like sudden shocking revelations and such things that you don't expect. You could probably see even just a lot more like of those like sort of natural disasters too, related with like electricity, and certainly like a change in the way we're processing information. Um, Local riots and rebellion more commonplace and likely, especially with Gemini ruling neighborhoods and close knit communities and smaller groups and crowds. I wouldn't be surprised if we do see more like uprisings and like more kind of like a tribalistic type of um more primal like type of behaviors seen in society, or just more naturally based ways of living and just living in homes, which you would think, especially with the fourth house too being pulling Cancer and the home and the mother and everything that we think is comfort and secure, especially because Gemini does rule neighborhoods. This is more definitely in the way of just the general stylistic life, if you could see where I'm going with that. I don't know if that makes sense, but you get the idea. So space travel slash exploration. What is that? Is that an at? Plus, okay, plus experimentation. Space travel slash exploration plus experimentation. Okay, we got that through. Uranus and Gemini is already acting through me, huh? How about that? And I'm a freaking Uranus and Mercury dominant too, so there's that. And also Sun dominant, and Neptune and Pluto dominant as well, so maybe I have a little bit of an edge at being able to decipher more of these things, but that's a discussion for another time. But space travel, I mean, if you think about it, in World War II, they flew the first monkey Albert into space, you know? I definitely wouldn't be surprised if there's more experimentation and travel and even transporting of goods. I don't know if we're going to be delivering goods to aliens or traveling with aliens. I don't freaking know. You can go crazy with those ideas. I mean, that would be pretty cool and awesome to think about too. Or hopefully it wouldn't be us needing to move to and live on Mars, which is many, many, many light years away, in order to be able to inhabit life. But life on Mars would actually be miserable. Like, hella fucking miserable. And I'm not even sure if we'd be alive when we went there, but with Uranus and Gemini, it might be possible. I definitely would just say expect anything with that. Um, Especially with Uranus ruling more sophisticated technology like rockets, and spaceships and such things like that. Wouldn't be surprised if we. Well, I mean, I would actually be surprised if we do see like that more commonplace, like more just casual traveling through space. You know. Um, Another interesting one: a toy revolution, mind-bending riddles, arithmetics. I don't know why I wrote that. Toy robots. Robots teaching students subjects and robot entertainers. So pretty self-explanatory at this point. You know, with all this emphasis and almost this kind of fear and weird excitement of AI and robots and where that's going to lead us into the future, we could definitely see more of their integration in society in general. And it's kind of funny. I was mentioning in the first videos that we could definitely see more, generally more involved. Like I mentioned that certain stores have mascots, and I was saying it could be more expensive if they have robots as mascots instead, but it would also be more convenient because people wouldn't have to like humiliate themselves and stuff like that. But yeah, that's pretty much that's everything I got for Uranus in Gemini. I may or may not do a what the signs can expect of this, or even I think it would probably be even better to do just like the all three planets and how it's going to affect each ascendant. Um, and if anything, if anything else to consider, um, oh yeah, I was going to mention. So if it's the sun, it's more the social personality. I like to look at it as a social personality and the way that you just generally socialize or certain things you kind of find more gravitation towards, or it's almost like a light for you. Um, and the moon will be more the mind, the sector, the emotional, the personal self, the soul. How will your soul be influenced by these planets? I think it's especially important too to consider other ruling planets, because I think that people who are ruled by more by certain signs have probably an extra sensitivity to certain aspects and planets than they do others. But that obviously does not mean that you can't be affected by other planets and aspects, especially if they're making very close, you know, they're in very close quarters with other planets. So that's what I got for Uranus and Gemini. That's everything I got. I hope you learned something from this, and I cannot help but be excited for this. I mean, obviously, there's going to be some very deep shadow aspects we're all going to have to face as people with these huge changes coming in the next few years and even further down the road. But, just know that it's all for our greatest good, it's all for our ultimate empowerment, and we're going to be fine. You know, um, there are going to be shocking things we'll have to face, certain dark themes to have to really learn and get through and learn what is really morally right or wrong, and just within people, within ourselves, and how we can create a better world overall that's more spiritually pure, that's like a system that just works for everybody, and it just doesn't favor people who don't deserve that kind of power, you know? I definitely think that's probably the big theme. It's just learning and growing and evolving. And this is going to take on in the more personal and social sector, I think. Um, yeah, so that's it. Let me know what you think. I mean, I think these are going to be incredible transits. Absolutely life changing, absolutely historic. I don't know if there were any other period of times where there was like a triad like this. There's another term for it too, with all Pluto, Neptune, and Gemini. Neptune, Pluto, and Uranus. All just switching signs and going to be in the beginning of each sign, dipping their toes next year. Pluto just went into Aquarius, so there's that. It'll be back into Capricorn from September 1st to November 19th, and then back in Aquarius from November 19th until 2044. So, yeah, it's a lot. There's a lot to unpack, and I'm going to be sure I hope that my predictions will help the world and it'll help you, the viewer. Um, you know what? I mean, whatever happens through all of these transits, I just know we're all going to be okay at the end of it. You know, the bad shit, learn from the bad shit and just embrace the good shit as much as possible. Um, this is going to be more time where humanity will be stepping into its real authentic expression, and we're all going to be waking up. But and yeah, like I said, we're going to have to face certain darkness. We're going to have to face some very potentially very uncomfortable and upsetting changes, but it's all for our own spiritual growth overall. It'll be tough in the moment, but we'll ultimately be thankful for it in the long run. So yeah, that's everything I have for this. Take care, and if you are in the time period of Uranus in Gemini, let me know if any of these, if you so happen to be traveling into the future, Uranus in Aquarius, if you so happen to be from the future and you want to comment whether I'm an idiot or whether I am right, feel free to. All ears, all arms, all eyes, all that shit. See you later. Have a good one. Bye.